Hey, Jerry.
Hey, sorry about that, man. I had vacuum cleaners, jets, screaming cats, and pool equipment. And I had to flee my house. So now I'm sitting in my car in a peaceful neighborhood, parked and talking to you in the quiet.
Well, hey,
Jesus Christ.
it
So
sounds,
so let's
it
uh
sounds
let's just start over. Go ahead. Just start at the beginning with all the shit you were asking me.
this is an album that really lends itself to repeated listens because there are so many instrumental and melodic layers to it. And I was just saying that I think that's really cool. It really feels like an album that musicians can really dig into, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on a lot of records like that, and I've tried to create records like that. I think a lot of our music and the music that I've been a part of making, we've had some instant, like, hell yeah, impactful songs and records, but but they're really kind of built for the long haul, and I appreciate that. I love that you get more out of 10 listens and 20 listens and 30 listens. Like, holy shit, what is he doing that there, or what's he doing over here? Like, but I love that depth. I love layering. uh I like the narrative, and it goes from the surface all the way to the bottom, and so it's very gratifying to hear you say that. And that's what you're shooting for, is something that's gonna last. And if you listen deep enough and long enough, it kind of speaks, new things speak to you. So
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Um, I think it's interesting. You obviously were a pioneer of the Seattle sound in the 90s, but when I listen to this record, I get much more of a California feel. It's got some country elements, it's got slide guitar, it's got some sunny, upbeat melodies in it. Were you conscious of that sort of dynamic, or was it even something that you thought of while you were making this album?
when you start a record, for me, part of the fun is not knowing where you're going. You may have like a handful of ideas, that give you a little bit of a vibe of like what it could be, like, just, demoing up tunes of like, okay, this is gonna be a heavy record, or this is gonna be a little bit more of a atmospheric, lighter record, but that you kind of come up with that in the process, and that's a nice surprise. You just kind of go where you feel like the music's taking you naturally. And so it's interesting because in this demoing process, this demo up was striking me, and to go through a writing process. And there was about, I don't know, about 9 or 10 tunes that were basically the body of this record, and then there were about 5 or 6 other songs that felt like a different record. Felt a little bit more kind of in your face and aggressive and doomy, and they didn't seem to fit with this. And you kind of realize that process about halfway through the demoing thing, and okay, I guess this is where we're going. You listen to where it's taken you, and then you just try to shepherd it through, and let it be a natural, in the moment kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a good, I wouldn't even call it a problem, but a good situation to have, having too much good material and then figuring out what fits thematically and what doesn't, rather than having to scramble to just have enough songs to put on a record.
That's a problem I fortunately haven't had in my career, trying to come up with enough music to fill a record, and I'm thankful for that. And I credit that to a lot of hard work, and also being part of a collective that kind of spurs that. We have done records, Jar of Flies being one example, where we didn't have a whole lot when we went in, and we just kind of made it up, and it turned out to be a really great record. But for the most part, For the most part, I like going in, and you like to go in, as a band or as a writer, knowing that you've got a lot of material that you already feel good about to bring into, and go through the process with the band and see what everybody else is bringing. So I like to have like to have a few in my back pocket that I know are good and that I'm kind of stoked on, and then whatever else happens, you can always count on stuff happening in the moment. Those things improving, getting better, new songs just coming up on the spot or riffs, and you were asking about the oldest ideas on this record, and for me, demoing and collecting ideas is like money in the bank, and I've been doing it for 30 plus years. So there's all sorts of great ideas that never get used, or just don't get attended to, or they don't fit the time or the record you're working on. And the cool thing is they're always there. And there's a couple of songs on this record that are from those files. But reattacked, reimagined, and rewritten to be in the perfect version that they are. They didn't exist like they exist on this record, and it takes as long as it takes, for a song to come into being, or for it to find its place. I'm just glad a few of these songs found their place on this record.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. A song that is good and stands up to scrutiny, it doesn't matter how old it is or how many versions of it you have to work through. If it's good and it really deserves to be out there, it'll find its way out eventually. So it's cool that you were able to have that perspective and really fashion those songs to get them exactly how you wanted this time around. It's awesome.
Yeah, if you're looking at, and if you really look at it, even an artist that has a really long career, there's a finite amount of albums, that get put out, and it's not just you're in a band, so everybody else comes up with great stuff too, and you're talking about what, 9, 10, 11, 12 tunes, for like a 2, 3, 4 year period that gets output, and then you go out and tour. So I guess the goal is that you're really trying to get the cream of the crop, at that particular time. And I feel really good about this record. I made it with a lot of really talented musicians that some I have played with before, others I never had, and I had a really good production group with myself, Tyler Bates, Paul Figueroa, and Joe Barisi, and between the four of us, we all had a bunch of friends that we invited to be a part of it. It was a really organic, made at home, mom and pop sort of record, and I think all of that translates into the record, and it does have, what you mentioned before. It's really alive. It's definitely got a feel of a record that I haven't made before, but I hope it's still familiar,
Totally. Yeah, man. I was really impressed with the cast of musicians that you've got on this album. I think it's great that you've got Duff McKagan playing bass, especially because he has such roots in Seattle and helped kind of develop that Seattle punk sound in the 80s too. I feel like you guys probably have a strong musical kinship because of those Seattle roots.
We do, and Duff's asked me on a number of occasions to join him on some of his efforts, some of his solo records, and we did a cool thing where we played a song for Jimmy Carter's birthday. I mean, he joined us on tour when we kind of were heading toward making Black Gives Way to Blue. Came out on the road with us and played guitar with us. So we're good friends, and longtime collaborators. And it was. I don't think he intended to do the whole record, but he came over to do a song or two, but I kept throwing tunes at him, and by the end of a couple of days, he'd already done 3/4 of the record. But he's just so talented, and I think, I just admire him as a musician and as a man. He's a good dude.
Totally. Yeah. Did you have you gotten to hear the reissue of his, teenage band, The Living? They finally got to put out their debut album on Stone Gossard's label earlier this year.
I haven't. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's like a hardcore punk project. I know he's not playing bass. He might be singing and playing guitar on parts of it. I would have to check that, but it's really cool to hear that.
Okay.
I mean, you guys could play. Yeah, it's great. But
So
anyway.
that was pre farts. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 1982, I think. I mean, he was maybe like
that's cool. Yeah, I gotta check that out.
He's a child, but the songwriting was already there. It's really cool to hear. And of course,
that's cool.
Yeah. I think it's cool, like of the, archetypal grunge bands that came out in the early 90s. I always heard in Alice in Chains' sound, I felt you guys kind of had a soft spot for like the 80s rock thing that was coming out of, Los Angeles at the time. And you were really able to inject some of that, penchant for big riffs and some showmanship into your sound. Wondering if you feel that's accurate assessment, or if you had a connection to that scene at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was there's a lot of good music made in that decade, and being a big band and being able to command a stage, and have a large audience and put on a show. Those are elements. Those are as crucial elements as writing good songs and being a good musician, And early on, maybe a lot of our brethren, didn't openly admit it, but we all listen to the same stuff, and we're inspired by everything from the most underground punk to the biggest, most commercial rock and everything in between. But we were a band. We just wanted to get on a stage, and we wanted to be a successful band, and we wanted to be a big band. And occasionally, there was Love Bone, and then later Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and us and the Trees and Mudhoney, Nirvana. About 4 of those were all in the same office, right? So every once in a while somebody would come to town, like whatever, Poison or Helix or whatever. I think our first gig we were open for, what was it? Why can't I think of the fucking name? Great White and Tesla. They'd call and ask if any of the bands would be interested in opening for those bands, and everybody would turn it down except us. We're like, is it a stage? It's in our state or in our town. We're there. We'll play with anybody, And those were important reps, getting on big stages, no matter the if you didn't really mix musically that well with the band you were playing with. We toured with everybody, or we did shows or toured with everybody. We toured with Extreme, we toured with Slayer, we toured with Iggy Pop, we toured with Van Halen. I mean, diversity is a good thing. We've always embraced that, and it's more fun. It's more fun, I think, when you get a variety of stuff than whether it's just a straight metal show, like 6 metal bands or 6 blues bands or whatever. I like shows that have variety to them and different artists and stuff, and those early experiences on big stages, taking gigs that the other guys wouldn't, I think served us well,
Yeah, I mean, it helps you certainly to develop a thick skin, which is necessary in this business. And I have to imagine that when you're out there, fighting for your life to win over an audience that isn't yours, It probably makes you appreciate the audience that is yours and is there solely for you even more when that time comes.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through that. That's a process that every band goes through, no matter. That's a shared experience. It is interesting, because you're at the point when you start being able to open for bands of that size that are playing arenas and hockey, hockey fucking arenas and bigger venues like festival seating crowds and shit like that. That's a big jump. It's a big jump from a little tiny shitty club that you're used to playing. But you also have the experience of having gone through that and see the shift when like your music starts to hit the world and people start paying attention to you. So that happened for us in the middle of Clash of the Titans when we were opening up for Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer on a revolving headliner tour. And for the first half of that, it was like running the gauntlet. You were constantly dodging shit that was being thrown at you. People were spitting at you, fucking swearing at you, swinging at you, jumping up on the stage and starting fights with you. And we kind of relished that. It was kind of like us against the world, but about halfway through that was when Man in the Box actually caught at radio and started getting played at MTV. And it was weird because you could almost immediately feel that shift. And that's you only get there by kind of going through that process, and that's the process of finding yourself and learning how to do what you dreamt of doing your whole life, opening up for some bands that you probably looked up to, that made you want to do it in the first place. And we've had that experience.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, that's got to be just like a totally unique and electrifying experience. And, especially when you're at the onset of your career, really, it's got to be such an amazing feeling to watch you guys winning over people in real time.
Yeah.
Now you opened for Van Halen, at two pretty different points in their career. I know Alice opened for them in '91, with Sammy Hagar fronting the band, and then you opened for them when you were supporting your first solo album, when Gary Cherone was fronting the band, right?
I don't think so. I think you might be thinking of somebody else.
No, I thought I had saw on the archives that you were opening for them in '98, but hey, maybe the internet got it wrong then.
Yeah, I think I might have got that one wrong. Yeah.
Well, that's all right then. Hey, at least we could clear it up. Well, anyway, I also wanted to say I'm a guitar player myself, so congratulations on the new signature Wino Les Paul. It's a gorgeous instrument.
Yeah, I mean, Les Paul's a great guitar. It's the guitar I first wanted, and it took me many years to actually get one, and to be associated with a company like Gibson, who's made so many quality instruments, and so many of my heroes play them, and started out playing the G&L Rampages, but very quickly got myself a Les Paul when we actually had a couple of bucks, in our pockets, and both those two guitars have been real integral to my recording and live sound, and it's a real honor, to have a guitar out with my name on it, associated with the company, and especially one of my favorite guitars of all time, the Gibson Les Paul.
Yeah, totally.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to have your name on somebody else's guitar that's named after them.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, it's already named after one of the most famous guitar innovators ever, and then you're putting your name on it too.
Well, I didn't put it on there. Gibson did. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Somebody,
Yeah.
somebody probably with a steadier hand to paint that name on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious, like when you were really developing your chops as a guitar player and a songwriter, like what was your philosophy and your approach to guitar? Like, did you aspire to be like a quote unquote guitar hero?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's just it's a lot of listening, a lot of time spent playing, and one thing I did a lot of was when I kind of got on my own, out away from home or whatever, about 18, 19, was live shows, and I soaked up a lot from that, and that kind of goes back to what we were talking about. It's about a lot of different levels of proficiency rather than just being a great musician, and I think you go through a process of finding yourself, and I, I was always into bands that had riffs, and I always dug bands that had really strong writers, and I guess I just kind of naturally gravitated toward that, and found myself somewhere along that path.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, from square one,
Riffs
you've
and songs,
obviously,
riffs,
yeah,
riffs, riffs, songs, melody, harmony.
that's that's the whole
That's
food
about
pyramid.
that's the four keys right there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the healthy, balanced diet for a rock anthem.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, from day one, you've obviously always been capable of ripping, really impressive solos, solos that other guitarists would want to emulate. But as far as up to the new album, I feel like you were also equally comfortable and interested in using guitar as kind of a tool to be layered and to further the song, like not just making, I feel like some guitar players, guys that are like recognized as famous guitar players, there's a tendency sometimes to treat a song as basically just a vehicle to get to the solo so they can show off. I don't think
Yeah.
you've ever
Sure.
had,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't think you have that inclination though.
Yeah, well, I'm not that good, so I'm not that good where I can just improvise for a 15-minute solo. So I have to rely on other strengths, and my stuff has always been uh, really tailored to the song. Even some of the earlier stuff where there's the classic, there's always the space for the guitar solo, and I love I love that, believe me. But even those solos, I always think of it. It's got to add something to the song, and I always think of it as another section, and I think it's got to speak. It's got to sing like a vocal. Like a vocal or a horn line or something like that. Something that's unique and elevates the song, but it's still something memorable and melodic. And especially ex-US, like in South America or a lot of the European countries. It's a trip to not only have people sing the lyrics to your songs back, but they'll sing your solos back to you, and that's like puts a chill up your spine, and I've had that happen, and that makes me feel good because that's what I intend them to be. They should be memorable, and they should be kind of easy to sing and a compliment to the song. There are guys who I admire, like Eddie Van Halen and Zakk Wylde and Dimebag and real technical, Slash, guys that you can put them in anywhere. They can solo for 2 hours and be fucking great and not miss a note, and just blow your fucking mind by their proficiency and musicality. But everybody's got their own unique niche, and I found mine, and I'm comfortable in it. I think I think this album is very song oriented, even more so maybe than my other ones. So there's some really good solos on there on this record, but Prism of Doubt's a real cool sassy one, and Black Hearts is kind of cool. It's like a harmonized solo, and but it is really tailored to the songs, and kind of that's the main focus.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, hell, Black Hearts and Evil Done is like a primarily acoustic song. And yet, that's probably my favorite song on the record, just melodically and from a songwriting and a guitar playing perspective. That goes back to what I said at the beginning. I think that's a song that sucks you in a little more with every listen. So certainly I think you accomplished what you set out to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, Jerry, I won't hold you up any longer. Real quick, I'm just curious. You've got some 22 tour dates lined up. Do you know who's going to be playing in the band yet for when you hit the road?
Yeah, I think there's a chunk of the guys that I did the record with that are going to take the trip with me. A lot of them have their own stuff going on, their own big bands and their own projects to do. But it's a little far out to say who's actually gonna be there. But I'll go with the flow, and I've been really lucky to be able to have a cool group of musicians rally and go out and tour every time I've done it. So I'm not worried about it this time too. It'll be fun seeing that unfold too on who's coming.
Totally. Yeah, man. Well, I and a bunch of other people will be excited to see you and some of your famous friends on a stage soon.
Cool.
Thanks, man. Well, Jerry, really appreciate your time today. And again, congrats on the record. And yeah, man, good luck with everything from here on out.
Thank you. And thanks for weathering the tornado for the first couple of minutes there.
Oh, no worries. I hope the cats are okay. Hope they're doing all right.
Yeah. She's developed some real neuroses and some anxiety issues. So I gotta figure something out for her. She's been getting a little cranky in her old age. All right, man. Well, good talking to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And again, take care.
Okay. Bye.